So I like talking about physics on this channel. No, not that physics. Physics. FNAF stuff I can't solve. Shut up, that acronym works. Speaking of acronyms, FNAF's got a bit of an obsession with them, and for some reason, we've got another one. M.I.M.I.C is an acronym, and there's not exactly an obvious answer as to what it stands for.
What does
M.I.M.I.C
stand for?
What?
Your name is
M.I.M.I.C.
correct?
Yeah.
And it stands for what?
Stands for me. That's what a name is.
Your name is letters?
All names are letters, dickhead.
And as my clearly superior acronym suggests, I don't think I can solve this. But sod it, I'm gonna try. So, to start trying to solve this, we've got to first establish exactly what the acronym is the name of. We find out that M.I.M.I.C is an acronym when we get to the surveillance room in Edwin's office to access the M.I.M.I.C's blueprints. So the M.I.M.I.C acronym refers to the M.I.M.I.C. Duh. Well, this is FNAF, and despite the name of the game, there isn't really the M.I.M.I.C, but lots of things that are referred to as a M.I.M.I.C. In this case, while it could refer to some version of the M.I.M.I.C code used to make M2, the fact that it's blueprints and that we were asked to find the schematics to the endoskeleton, I'm almost certain the M.I.M.I.C acronym refers to the physical endo itself. Knowing what the acronym represents is only part of the problem. You need to understand why there's an acronym to begin with. The best way to do that? Let's look at when FNAF has used acronyms before. FNAF loves an acronym. So let's have a look at some of the acronyms we've had before and what they've been used to tell us to maybe understand what the purpose of making M.I.M.I.C an acronym was. And by the way, no, I don't mean like the weird blooming acronyms you see all over Reddit like blooming Toy Shank or whatever the hell it is. Secret of the M.I.M.I.C itself introduces several acronyms, including Helper, but it's not the ones it introduces that are useful. Instead, it's the one it solves. MEXes. Mechanical X-Form Experimental Storage. Look, I'm on the record saying that putting X in the acronym is dumb. They came up with the acronym first, didn't they? Like, I said it was going to be weird what the X would stand for. An X-form? Really? But this is what we got. It was a mystery acronym set up in a previous game that was paid off here in a way that explained what the thing it's referring to is. Essentially what I'm saying is there's precedent for an acronym to be left as a mystery so that the purpose of something can be revealed at a later date. And going back even further, FNAF 6 was filled with acronyms. Scoop, Rusk, Lefty, they all use their acronyms to make everything look more technical or something. Oh, and I guess they explain what each of them do. So we're looking for an acronym that explains what the M.I.M.I.C endo does, but given it's obviously going to be a bit of a backronym, we can probably have a couple of stretches in there. I'm looking at you, X-Form. And hey, if we really can't think of anything, we could always just forget to finish the acronym and leave a letter in there. I'm looking at you, Remote Activated Simulated C. But before I have a go at solving this, I thought I'd just check the internet and see if anyone else has had a go at this before me. And let's just say there's a bit of a lack of serious suggestions. First up, we've got men in mascots imitating chaos, which sounds great until you realise that this is a robot and not a man. Mangoes in my iced coffee. That's not where mangoes belong. Mangoes belong in cider if you're of legal drinking age. Murray's incredible mimicking iguana, copyright pending. Look, it felt so promising until the end there. It's probably why there's also the suggestion of Murray's incredible mascot imitating creation, which is probably a lot better, probably the first serious suggestion here. Then mascot imitation and media interaction construct. Okay, now it really feels like we're getting somewhere here. That feels more FNAF-y, like it feels more like it's trying to sound smart. And then we've got, my name is Edwin I. Made the M.I.M.I.C. It was difficult to put the pieces together. But unfortunately, something went so wrong, and now I can't do anything but sing this stupid song.
My name is Edwin.
Look, come on, I could not include that. The moment I saw it, I'm like, yep, that's going in the video. And then finally, we've got this one. Hang on, wait a second. I mean, up to you on this one, I guess. You can decide how true this one is. Okay, so there may be a couple of useful ideas in there, but the key thing is, it seems like most people are focusing on aspects of what the M.I.M.I.C code does, rather than the endoskeleton. So what does the endoskeleton actually do? Well, when you think M.I.M.I.C, your first thought may be its ability to copy things. The endoskeleton's main ability is actually that it can change shape and size to fit into any costume. Any costume may or may not include Big Top. So we're probably going to at least need a word in that acronym to represent changing size and shape. And to be fair, a few of the suggestions I found online did use the word imitating to cover the whole mimicking thing, which obviously the M.I.M.I.C was built to do, so I'm yoinking that. Perhaps we might have to consider though that this imitation is both auditory imitation and mechanical imitation, i.e. copying both sounds and movements. We'll probably also need a noun in there that says that, you know, It's a robot. Right then, let's look at what letters we've got to fill and where they can go. Well, for one of the M.I.s, I've already said the words mechanical imitation. I think that'll fit quite well somewhere in here. Now, a word for changing size and shape that fits one of these letters. I thought of one, and I had to double check I got the meaning of it right, and I did. So one of those M's is going to become metamorphosing. Now, if that's C on the end, I could do the Scott thing and just leave it as a C. Okay, I won't be lazy and do that. I'll just steal from Reddit instead and go for construct. Now, that just leaves an I, and I'd like to reference something to do with the auditory imitation somehow. So, ladies, gentlemen, and those too cool to be either of those, I present to you my M.I.M.I.C acronym. Metamorphosing, intonation, and mechanical imitation construct. It's good, right? Okay, intonation is definitely a stretch to properly represent either sound or speech, but come on, it's at least better than X form. So maybe this isn't a FNAF thing I can't solve? Okay, fine, I didn't solve it, but FNAF stuff I can take a stab at solving isn't patchy. And anyway, like I said, FNAF often uses acronyms to reveal something at a later date, so potentially this is going to be a way that we find out something else the Mimic can do. In reality though, this isn't really something that can likely be solved or even really needs to be. But sometimes it's just fun to have a go at solving these things anyway. And I'd love to see your solutions in the comments, whether they're real attempts or the worst guess ever. Okay, second worst guess ever. But hopefully you've enjoyed this little look into how I go about breaking down some of FNAF's most unimportant mysteries, even when I can't actually solve them. And if you did, make sure to check out some of my other ridiculous stretches pretending to be FNAF theories, and I will see you when you're older.